Finally, as we go forward, this is an industry that is experiencing a ton of change, and it's really exciting to be a part of. And some of the things that we see on the horizon that are constantly changing right now start with access to traditional financing. We're seeing a lot of banks starting to get a little bit more comfortable with the idea of more traditional lines of credit and financing options that you'd see for normal industries, but typically have been unavailable to cannabis operators. And so as we see that, that kind of signals that these banking programs and compliance officers are getting more comfortable with the industry, and the infrastructure on the back end is getting built out to be able to handle the extra compliance that's associated with that. So that's all good. The second big trend is the prevalence of the use of debit cards, both from a company perspective, meaning that banks are more likely now to give their account holders debit cards, which makes, routine business transactions way easier. And then more on the consumer transaction end and the retail end, you're seeing the ability for dispensaries to offer payment, debit card payment methods. And so that's increasing average transaction size and overall top line revenue, as more people are likely to have a debit card in their wallets than to just have a bunch of cash. And so that's a positive trend that we see going forward. And I think that'll only continue to increase in prevalence. And then lastly, we see a slew of legislative efforts that have hit Congress and are kind of right now in this regulatory logjam, if you will. The first and oldest is the Safe Banking Act, which is the Safe and Fair Enforcement, is what that stands for. And really what that does would allow the ancillary services to the industry, such as banking, insurance companies, and the like, to not consider revenue from these cannabis operators as federally illegal, which means that that would open up banking. It would open up all of these third-party service providers that have been hesitant to jump into the industry for fear of federal prosecution. It clears the way for all of that. And so while it doesn't deschedule cannabis and it doesn't eliminate Section 280 of the tax code, it does make operating in the space way more business friendly, and ultimately would be a huge step in the right direction.